Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video we are going to learn about how to set up your semester or your developer project on github.com. First we will demonstrate how to set up an account on github.com. Then we learn about how to create a repository, set up its structure, and then how to share with your group members, and then understanding the flow of github.com, how it works. For example, how the master and branches are working, and then a broad view of how the GitHub is overall working. To create an account on github.com, in your browser go to github.com, click on the sign up, and you will need only your email address to sign up in the github.com. So it will guide you towards clicking on the sign up. I have already created my account, so I will just log in. Your first step is to create a repository for your project. So either you can click on here by selecting its type. There are two types of repository: public and private. Public is visible to everyone, and private is visible to only you and your shared members to which you are sharing this repository. So let's start creating one repository. Just click on the new button. In creating a new repository, first you will have to provide a valid name that is unique within your repository, like AAS. Then you provide some description for this project. Like in our case, we have an automated attendance system, which will be a mobile application to take the attendance for a group or class in schools, university, or any other organizations. There are two types of repositories. One is public, the code is visible and it is readable to everyone. If you keep it private, so there are restrictions like on the number of people or participants, developers who can participate in this repository, so it's better to keep it public. The next section is to initialize the repository with the readme file. These are the default instructions for this repository, like wiki instruction, how to set up the project, what is the purpose of this repository, what is the project vision, and so on and so forth. And then you can add the git default set template. What is this template used for? Like when you are adding a project, there may be like a lot of byte codes like .class files, but you only want to keep track of your .java files. So this template will initialize the meaningful files, and only those files will be versioned in the repository. So for example, in our case it is like a Flutter application. So I have selected the language Dart. You can select any language depending on the project you are working in, and then that template will be applied within your this repository. The license ensures that what is the ownership of the code. It is a public or what type of. So initially I have selected the MIT. There are other licenses available, and you can read about them, what they ensures. And at last you can change it to trunk or main or master, whatever you want, by going into the settings, and then you just click on the create repository and it will create this new repository. So when the repository is created, your first step is to set up your readme file, and then you can click on the edit button, and the edit button how to format the details. So you see there is one hash against AAS. This means it is a header 1. And if you want to know about what are the other helpful instructions to format my readme file, so you just click on that keyboard button at the bottom, and these are the instructions on how to set up your readme file or other wiki files related to your projects. So the headers are specified with single, H2 and H6, and so on and so forth. The largest heading, and these are the examples. And then you can have a lot of other examples, like to bold the text you can provide the steric, and for italic you can have these details, like and for strike, and so on and so forth. So just go through these instructions to be able to provide good formatable readme file in your application. what should be the content in the readme file. So the project name is already there. You should clearly provide the purpose, like it is a semester project, or it is a FYP project, or it is a commercial project on which you are working, or it is an open source project in which you want other developer community to participate in this. And you should provide the brief vision and scope of this project so that people know that what is this repository about. You can tell about your group member, who is the team leader, and what are the contributors, and you can categorize them as well, and what are the wiki instructions, like how to set up this on your local machine, and so on and so forth. For undergraduate student in university, it is a suggested template that the repository should consist on the docs folder, which will have the documentation of this project, like in some other MS Word or some other format. And then you have a code folder inside which you will maintain your code, like the NetBeans project or the Flutter code or whatever. And in the database folder, you will maintain its backend scripts for the database generation or the backup or whatever format you like. In the case tool project, if you are doing the computer-aided software engineering, so that project can be saved under this this folder, okay? And you have a readme file, of course. The next step is to share this repository with your group member. So let's do it. For sharing with your group members, in this repository we are going to the settings tab, and then you click on the collaborators. Under the manage access, click on the add people. Just add their email addresses, one or many, and then click on the select contributor above. So that contributor will be informed by email, and he will have to accept your request from his email, and this repository will be shared with him for the read-and-write access. Next, you need to understand how the master and branches are working. So let's go to this tree structure. Initially, we have created version 1 of the repository, and whenever we are going to make some changes, so the better approach is to take a branch from this main repository, from this main master trunk or main, whatever you called it. In our case, we called it main. So you will have to create a new branch from it. I will demonstrate it shortly. And when you complete your work in the branch, then you create a pull request and ask your group members to review your code. Once they approve your code, then the team leader, usually the owner of this repository, who has the rights to merge the code, so he will merge the branch into this trunk in the main, and then the version will be upgraded from, like if it is 1, it will be going to 2 or some. So Git is internally managing the version numbers, so the version will be changed, and then other group will have to pull that version. I will explain it how that works. So this is how the code is growing and evolving into more and more manageable pieces, and every group member can work on its own branch without affecting the work of other group members, and you will have to ensure that the trunk is always a workable solution, okay? So there should be no bugs, there should be no breaking code or anything. So the trunk is always considered as the stable code, okay, of the project, and it is usually sync up with your production. Like if you have deployed the code on the client side, so that code is actually the master or the production code. To create a new branch, you go back to the code tab, and the main is selected by default. So the new branch name is basic prototypes, and when I click on under the branches on this link, create a branch, a new branch will be created. So let's create it. So a new branch is created and selected by default now. You see, we have 2 branches, main and basic prototype branch, and basic prototype is now selected.